Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3744.
You're listening to Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. The history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. It is Friday, April 12th, 2019. Thank goodness it's Friday. Thank goodness it's Friday. Thank goodness it's Friday. And we've got a weekend to look forward to. Meanwhile, before we can get there, we have a lot to talk about. And the phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. 800-313-9443. Mike is in our control room, ready to grab that telephone, put you on the air with your comments, questions, and observations. And of course, this being Friday, the lovely Lady Claire will be joining us in hour number 3 with her unique perspective on the world. And we've got everything all set up and ready for her to go. This is, of course, the anniversary of the first human being to fly into space, Yuri Gagarin, back on April 12th, 1961. He basically circled the Earth for, basically it was one orbit, was a proof of concept in the Vostok spacecraft. And of course, Gagarin became a hero of the Russian people. He's a cultural icon. Even today, you can see his face all over museums. And of course, for anybody who's an enthusiast about spaceflight in general, we all know who Yuri Gagarin is. And we all remember who Valentina Tereshkova is, who's the first woman to go into space. So anyway, little footnote in history there, and moving on. All right, the arrest of Julian Assange yesterday has provoked a very powerful reaction all around the world, some good, some bad. And most of it, though, is basically worried about the impact that this arrest is going to have on freedom of the press, or even on the willingness of journalists to take a chance on reporting a story that the American people need to know. Now, the government is basically taking the position that this is not about espionage, and it's not about embarrassing the U.S. military. It's not about embarrassing the U.S. government and revealing that once again, the American people were being lied to about the wars, that this is about Julian Assange and Chelsea Manning trying and failing to crack a password for a government computer. That's it. That's the entire case. And I understand that lawyers have been trying to figure out a way to sort of reverse Nixon versus New York Times, since they can't come up with anything. They're very concerned, if it goes all the way to the Supreme Court, that the Supreme Court would reaffirm the Nixon decision. And that is that the public has a right to know when the government is lying to them. If I did not firmly believe that, I wouldn't be here. I'd be down in Waikiki carving coconuts for the tourists or something like that. Probably make a lot more money than I am doing this. But that's really the issue here. You, the American people, have a right to know when the government that feeds off your taxes and takes your children for wars are lying to you. Now, I've been through that Constitution. I've read it cover to cover. There is nothing in here that authorizes the government to lie to you. And the 10th Amendment prohibits them from simply assuming that it's okay. So whenever the government lies to you, it acts unconstitutionally and illegally, and it delegitimizes itself. It ceases to be the legal government of this land. And the highest duty of the media, any media, corporate media, independent media, is to basically say to the American people, right now you are living under an illegitimate government because that government has been lying to you, and they are not authorized to do so under our system of laws. So getting on into some of the finer details here, story out of Sputnik News, the info war is lost. I think that's a little premature. WikiLeaks is going to continue regardless of whether Julian Assange is in the embassy or in a prison cell somewhere. And certainly the independent media is not giving up now. So Assange supporters are already doubting corporate media's coverage of the case because it's negative. It's already starting the smear campaign. Oh, he's a terrible person. He was psychotic. That's why the Ecuadorians opened the door and said, take him out of here. He was, doing artwork on the walls with his poo or just nonsense like that. And we've seen that before. Anytime the U.S. government wants to grab somebody illegally and haul them off, possibly torture them, they're going to demonize them and say, well, this person deserves it. And you should not feel sorry for anything that this person goes through because he's really, really bad. So, other opinions are out there. Story out of the originalangewar.com. Julian Assange's extradition must be opposed at all costs. I'm in agreement, not because I'm that big a fan of Julian Assange, but because if he is grabbed on a totally irrelevant charge, because we know this brouhaha has nothing to do with trying to crack a password and failing. The U.S. wants to throw Assange in prison as a warning. Do not expose government lies to the American people. This is basically the United States government asserting its authority to lie to you and declaring that anybody who doesn't accept the lies, I think believing them would be a little bit too much to ask, but just accepting the lies, going along with the lies. You get along by going along. That's what this really is. The U.S. government saying we are now in a post-truth nation, and we're going to tell you things like Saddam has nuclear weapons and Assad is gassing his people, and Maduro files his teeth because he thinks pain is fun. And you're supposed to just go along with it. Just accept the lies and go along with what we do, and everything will be fine. And those of you who question, those of you who doubt, you heretics out there, you're going to be in trouble. All right, we're going to do a shout out now to our on-air affiliates who are just now rejoining the network here. And the corporate media is out there saying that Assange was this jerk that everyone hated at the embassy, who was living in this one little tiny room. Actually, no. Assange had at the back of the Ecuadorian embassy the largest and most secure room there, where the WikiLeaks office was based. Only he had the key codes to that room. They gave him his privacy. In addition to that room, they gave him another room to which he only had the key codes. It was probably his bedroom. And then he had the balcony room all to himself. Remember all those times he went out on the balcony and he waved at his supporters and fans? If the Ecuadorian embassy staff had really hated him, they wouldn't have treated him that well. So the corporate media is out there saying, oh, this is the last guy you ever want to meet. Oh, he's terrible. In fact, did you see him when they got arrested? He's got a beard. Notice, beard is a negative now. He's got a beard. The good people have whiskers. Assange had a beard. Rivero has a beard. Anyway, so little article coming on out from Natural News, and it's saying basically what everybody else is saying. How is what Julian Assange has done with WikiLeaks any different than newspaper coverage of Watergate or the Pentagon Papers? And that is exactly the point. And that is why the U.S. government is trying to make this arrest and extradition all about an attempted and failed computer hack. I think they're afraid to try and go back to the Supreme Court and reverse the Nixon decision. The Supreme Court is not going to say that the U.S. government has a right to lie to the American people and keep secrets. I know during wartime, freedom of speech comes under attack, and whether they want to admit to it or not, this is wartime. This is the opening of World War III. And yes, we're being lied to about Saddam's nukes, Assad's sarin gas, who knows what all else. Truth is the first casualty of war. And those of us who are trying to make sure that you, the American people, who are expected to pay for it all and to bleed for it all, are fully informed, as you have a right to do, a right to be. Another article over at antiwar.com, Requiem for the Fourth Estate. And interestingly enough, it says that the arrest of Assange, literally the kidnapping of Assange from the embassy, demonstrates that in today's Anglo-America, the Magna Carta and the Bill of Rights are now quaint and obsolete, to use the words of lawyer Alberto Gonzales. Now, if you don't remember the name, Gonzales wrote a memo in January 2002 to say that basic principles of international law, like the Geneva Convention, were quaint and obsolete. And under that principle, he could legally grant Bush an exemption which would authorize the use of torture by the U.S. government. And that memo was dated February 7th, 2002. And of course, as you know, the United States did engage in a campaign of torture, which was kept secret from you until independent media blew the whistle and got it out there. Now, because Gonzales did such a really good job in convincing Bush that torture is cool and okay, he was nominated and confirmed as Attorney General. Another reason why we should always take very good look at anybody being nominated for Attorney General to see what it is they've done in the past that calls into question their moral character. Another variation on a theme, this one from the American Conservative. Yes, you should fear the arrest of Julian Assange. And it's interesting, even though technically his arrest is over a failed hacking attempt, which apparently Chelsea Manning was doing the hacking, and they're trying to say that Julian Assange was just sort of there conspiring. But we're seeing all these people out there still talking about he's got to be charged for espionage. Assange has to be charged under the Espionage Act. And you've had lawmakers on both sides of the aisle calling for this for years. Ex-CIA Chief Mike Pompeo called Assange a non-state hostile intelligence service, often abetted by state actors like Russia. Well, Mike Pompeo could basically put that description on any foreign media that does not hold a favorable view of the United States. So they're trying to come up with some way where if a journalist, corporate or independent, exposes a government lie, they can be charged with espionage. Now, I hope that they're not going to get that through the Supreme Court, but it is going to go all the way up there. There's no question about it. Another article on the same topic from Zero Hedge, The Day America Died. And it says, the United States, with all of its initial prejudice and screw-ups, was founded as a place where people could direct their own lives without having to fear any other party, let alone a government that would stand in their way while they did it. That's really what the Bill of Rights is all about. And a big part of not having to fear one's government is not having to fear that government purposely lying to its citizens. The Founding Fathers got that one right. And the arrest of Assange erases that. The government is trying to assert its, they're probably going to say they have a right. I prefer to use authority. The U.S. government is exerting its authority to lie to you with impunity. They used to have it. In the days before the internet and the independent media, when the media lied to you, it was with impunity. When the government lied to you, they got away with it because the media was helping them. And you wouldn't find out till years later that there were multiple gunmen in Dealey Plaza, or that there were no torpedoes in the Gulf of Tonkin, or that there really had not been a Spanish mine in Havana Harbor. It took years for that to come on out. And by the time it came on out, well, the government was on to its next lies. And the gullible and naive and trusting American people would say, oh, yes, these people are really bad. Please take my money, take my children, put them in uniform and send them off to just smite the foe. And we hope we get them back more or less in one piece. Today, it's different. The internet, the independent media have taken away the government's ability to lie with impunity, and now they want it back. And that's what this is all about. The government wants to go back to those good old days, back in the 1940s and 50s and 60s, when the government would tell the media, this is the message to go on out, and the media would send the message out, and nobody could respond. They want to go back to that. Our government is not progressive, despite all the words. They're regressive. They want to take us back to the days of the original Cold War, where people who knew that the government was lying could not get the message out. That's what they want. So, over in Great Britain, the hacker collective Anonymous is promising reprisals against the British government for arresting Assange. So, apparently on the Anon News website, there was a message, let Assange free or you will pay. And reminded everybody that Assange has been nominated annually for the Nobel Peace Prize since 2010. And of course, this case has attracted the international media. It all hinges on the idea, is Assange and a journalist, is WikiLeaks a publisher? And of course, the government is going to say, no. You know, real publishers and journalists are like Newsweek and Time and, you know, big corporate entities with lots of people and lots of money and, you know, people out there with just a couple of computers and working on their own. They can't be considered real journalists. But again, going on back here to our little Constitution and the Bill of Rights, there is nothing in the First Amendment that places any kind of a qualifier on freedom of speech or freedom of the press. Anybody has a right to speak their mind. Anybody has a right to publish any information they deem the public needs to know, whether it's by printing press or by computer. Okay, we're going to take a phone call from Dustin in New Jersey. And Dustin, I'm probably going to have to take you through the commercial break.
Mike, if there's no truth, dignity, and honor, then everybody might as well take the flag down, because these people have stained the flag.
Yes.
These people are enemies of America, all of these people, because this is not what America is about.
No, it isn't. You know, but their thinking is it's wartime, and in wartime we've got to do extreme things here. And, you know, we'll kiss and make up with the American people after victory, which I don't think is going to happen.
Did you see Tucker Carlson had a great montage? It was like one of the best things about Julian Assange. And I know he probably went as far as he can because of the forces who run Fox News.
Yep.
But I didn't see anything from Sean Hannity at all. I don't know if anybody else, might have missed it, but Mike, you know what he did say? He goes, well, he was talking about like Trump and Russia. He goes, Trump did more. He went back. He fought against Putin and his thugs in Syria. He said that. He said Putin and his thugs. Putin and what? The Russian military. So Sean Hannity's on the wrong side of history because he don't care about the flag. It's amazing, Mike. They fly the flag and everything on Fox News. Every
Yes.
part of Fox News, and they don't give two craps about it. They stain it by lying. And they always say the Bible and stuff also. They're very religious, supposedly. Would Jesus lie? Yeah. I mean, these people are all frauds. The frauds.
They are. Okay, Dustin, I got to put you on hold. Don't hang up. We got to take a break for commercials, and we'll be right back.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Visit us online at whatreallyhappened.com. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show. We're talking with Dustin in New Jersey, and it's a crazy, crazy situation. And you're absolutely right with your comments. I grew up, as I'm sure most of us did, being taught to respect that flag of the United States of America. And, we did our little Pledge of Allegiance to it, which I thought was a little too much. But growing up in New England, with our long history of going all the way back to the American Revolution, we had a lot of respect for it because we knew what it had cost. And it seems like our politicians today, they don't respect it because they didn't work for it. They basically gamed the system to get it, and they're basically misusing it. They use it as a symbol for propaganda purposes, whether it's at Fox News or over in Washington, D.C. And clearly they don't have the respect for what it stands for. It's just another symbol. It's just something to wave at the American people to get them to move in the right direction.
And Judge Napolitano came out and said he's a hero. And also Jerome Corsi says he's a hero.
Yes.
And that show, The Five, which is comparable to that other crappy show, The View.
Yes.
They're both two sides of the same coin. On that Five, remember that woman, Dana Perino? She was in the Bush administration. She's one of the lie about. She goes, I never liked Julian Assange because I'm for Team America. Now, what about Team Truth? Team Justice? You know,
okay?
She'd rather throw all that away, you know, than to like be just truthful and honorable about everything. You know, like I said, these people are they stain the flag.
Yes, they do. They absolutely do. All right. Well, Dustin. All right, we're going to let you go here. We're going to take another phone call from Charles in St. Petersburg. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind? Charles, are you there? Okay, Charles, we seem to have a very weird phone connection. Okay, well, I'm sorry, Charles. We're going to have to let you go because I can't understand. Maybe you could try calling back in. Okay, getting on back to the Julian Assange situation. Hillary Clinton, of course, is absolutely delighted at what's going on. She blames WikiLeaks, along with pretty much everybody else, for her 2016 defeat. And so she was out there basically cackling over his arrest with that unique signature style of hers. And even commented saying, I do think it's a little ironic that Assange may be the only foreigner that this administration would welcome to the United States, which is a dig at Trump's immigration policy. So she's just happy at her own wit and basking in the audience's warmth. Now, Diane Abbott basically came on out saying that Julian Assange's arrest really was for embarrassing the U.S. military. It's not about the rape charges in Sweden, which were dropped, although now they're saying, well, we may go back and see if we can revive them, because the statute of limitations hasn't expired until next year. Again, this is part of the demonization. They don't want you thinking about the journalistic impact. It's the hacking, and even though the rape accusers backed off and said it didn't happen, they've had a sudden memory eruption and said, oh yes, it did happen. You know, they're just going to pile on. And so Diane Abbott, of course, is getting a lot of fury. You know, how dare you say this was about embarrassing the U.S. military? Of course it was. I mean, look how many rapes take place around the world. They never make the news. They certainly don't wind up with the suspect holing up in an embassy for 7 years. Look how rampant cybercrime is. People breaking into computers. I mean, it's epidemic. It's absolutely epidemic. Doesn't make the news hardly until somebody gets arrested for it. And even then it won't. But that's the big deal. Ooh, Assange, he might have been a rapist. And he did skip his bail hearing. Yeah, they got him on that one. Now, if I were the judge on that one, unless Sweden comes back with new rape charges, I would say, look, they dropped the case. There shouldn't have been bail. But of course, that means that Assange will be on his way to the United States of America, and who knows what is going to happen to him once he gets here. Now, the ace in the hole he's got, of course, may be Seth Rich, because he dropped a lot of hints that that was where they got the DNC emails. So maybe they're trying to get Assange back here to make a deal to bolster the lie. They can, say to Assange, look, if you admit that Russia hacked the DNC emails and gave them to you, then you'll get maybe a couple of years in prison, and then you'll be off and doing whatever you want to do. But if you refuse to go along with it, then you are going to go away until you're gray, which he already is. Anyway, we got to take another break for commercials, and we'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, keep it today.
Did you know that neither the American Medical Association nor the American Bar Association were established to benefit the American people? Have you recognized that in our country, healthcare has little to do with health, and that our court system has nothing to do with justice? The priests of both medicine and law have been incentivized to implement a dark agenda on behalf of the Bilderbergers and their ilk. To protect ourselves and our progeny, we need to take a much closer look at how these two giant industries really work. Join me, Al Whitney, on In Defense of Humanity, Saturdays at 7 p.m. Central, as we expose the matrix and learn how not to consent to our own destruction.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield Tactical Bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more, plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AirOutfitting.com.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened?
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. Boy, the phone lines are really loading up. But before we take some phone calls, I kind of want to finish getting through some of the last of this Assange stuff here. Oddly enough, Bernie Sanders is basically keeping mum about all this Julian Assange Sturm und Drang. And a lot of the Bernie-crats are wondering what's going on. Why Bernie Sanders doesn't seem all that concerned about freedom of the press. You know, but Assange should be feeling very lucky right now, because the American idea right now is that embassies are for chopping up journalists, not protecting them. All right, we're going to go back to Lenny. Lenny was on hold, and Lenny, let's see. Can you pick up where you left off?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Oh, I never got a chance to say anything.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought I left you on hold, or at least that's what my control room person seemed to indicate. Anyway, Lenny, what is on your mind this Friday?
Well, I want to say what you have is humanity versus inhumanity. And what you have are the flunkies of inhumanity working for those who are the enemies of humanity to keep humanity in check so that they can keep feeding off of humanity. Now, Dustin is right when he says these people are staying on the American flag. No, they're staying on humanity.
Yes.
Look at the likes of the reporters who have a God-given talent to be able to look at a teleprompter and read, yet they sell their souls to become liars. And when you think about Dante's Inferno and the different levels of hell, I'm telling you, they're going to have to rewrite it and create a deepest level of hell for the reporters. But to go past that, let's look at the likes of Theresa May, the bug-eyed corpse of the UK.
Yes.
And how the people of the UK voted to leave the EU, and she's done everything she can within her power to sabotage that Brexit, okay, for her Zionist master, Selena Rothschild.
Yep.
She's done everything. She sold her soul, and now to get temporal power in this world that they presently live in, and they don't get to stay here. This is what trips me out. I was reflecting on your situation a week or so ago when you were having a hard time. I think it was like last Thursday or the Thursday before.
Yeah.
And I thought about what you were going through, and I thought about the likes of Dr. King and Malcolm X. And you know, I don't know if you remember that speech that Dr. King gave the night in Memphis before he died. He knew he was going to die, but yet he faced it. He faced it like a man because he knew that they could only kill the physical. All right?
Yep.
And these people sell their souls to keep you in a certain mental state because they know that all matter can neither be created nor destroyed. It only changes form. But they need you in a conscious state of mind so that when you leave this particular matter, you wake up at another reality, and they get to feed on you all over again. But it's just sickening to see this. We all die, but how we go out is critical, Mike.
Yep.
And let me say this. And what did I forget what particular play it was that Shakespeare said? From hell's heart, I stab at thee.
That's from Moby Dick by Herman Melville.
Okay, thank you. But let me just say this. Okay, and I think it was in the movie JFK. Though the heavens fall, may truth be done or told.
Yeah, let justice be done, though the heavens may fall.
We're all going to leave here, but how we leave here is critical, man. We all got to take inventory of something called the soul. And this is what they have sold out just for a little while. They don't even get to stay here, but they're just so damn pathetic. But it's humanity versus the enemies of humanity. See it like that, and we got a chance to just wash this slate clean. But whenever you're ready, let me know, because I can't wait to get at it.
Well, again, this show does not advocate revolution or civil war. In fact, my habit is to not make recommendations that are going to get people hurt. You're going to have to make those choices for yourself. And certainly at my age, I'm nobody's idea of Che Guevara or even Che Rivero. But I know there's a lot of people out there who are angry. They're looking at what's going on over in France. They're seeing the successes there. They're seeing the successes down in Sudan and thinking maybe it could work here, and maybe it can. But again, I sort of prefer the Gandhi approach, and I have for these 25 years.
Let me say one more thing. Let me say one more thing. Like I said, I'm not advocating violence in any way. But what I am advocating is that you stand up and be a man and a woman in this lifetime. Okay? Because you let someone take that from you, what good are you? But let me say this real quick. Did you happen to notice the instigator, translator, with when Putin was meeting with one of the representatives from Sweden, and there was a translator sitting between them that was translating what Putin said. It's like a little devil sitting on Putin's shoulders. He's saying what Putin didn't say. And the guy from Sweden is looking like Putin just cursed him out. And Putin picked up on what the guy is doing, and Putin called him out. So the translators are even bought off.
Yes. Yeah, that's always been a big problem, and that's where Putin, with his all the languages that he knows, is able to basically catch up on that. I even remember seeing a student film when I was in college that was basically two diplomats, and everybody was actually speaking English, but they made it look like it was different languages by having heavy accents on one side. And in the middle was this guy acting as a translator who was just mistranslating everything and took what started out to be this meeting seeking peace to two nations on the verge of war. And as the translator walks on out and these other guys are screaming at each other, and he just smiles at the camera and he just thinks that's funny. But yeah, it is a big problem where the translators themselves are assets for somebody. But you know, we're entering an age right now where real-time translation from one language to another electronically is becoming real. I've got a translator system on my iPhone where I just talk into it, and it will then speak back in a different language.
Well, good. This is what I'm saying. Another instance where technology is being used for good instead of evil. It's our choice. That's all I'm saying. But it's almost as if the middlemen, the people who choose to be the middle people, who want to sit next to what they consider as power, and they're governed by the same laws that we're governed by: birth, growth, decline, and death.
Yep.
You go after that. Okay, but anyways, Mike, hey, hang in there, man. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks an awful lot. And before we take our next phone call, I look at what's going on where we have this sociopathic elite that is very disconnected from the human race and at large, and it's nothing new. Andrew Carnegie actually believed that the super wealthy was a separate species of human being, and that they had certain rights and privileges not accorded to the working class. And he constructed his educational foundation around that very idea. And taken to the extreme, of course, you get into H.G. Wells' prediction in The Time Machine of humanity literally breaking into two species, the Eloi and the Morlock. And the Morlock were the rulers, the technocrats, and the Eloi were basically the food. Let's go back to the phones here. Paul in Montana. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Mr. Rivera, concerning the government workers and the other people that are having to deal with these illegal invaders, Drudge Report just a little while ago says that there are 40 new Ebola cases over a 2-day period. The Congo Health Ministry says that there are 1,200 known Ebola cases. And 75% of those Ebola cases have no contact to previous infected people. Now, all of these health workers, all these government health workers, the NGOs, the hospitals and schools, et cetera, that they're sending all of these people, they're the first people to infect their children and then infect the general population. And why do we hear nothing about this? If you just go and look around YouTube and other places, you'll see where groups of these government workers, in quotes, are saying that their sickness rates are going through the sky.
Yes.
We'd like to hear what you have to say. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Obviously, the situation with Ebola is of concern. There are many different strains of Ebola. Some are worse than others. This one is not as bad as the Mayinga strain. That's a slate wiper. Of course, it's a lot worse than the Reston strain. Most people may not realize this. There was actually an Ebola outbreak in Reston, Virginia, but it was a strain of Ebola that only infected monkeys, and humans were totally immune to it. So it's a wide spectrum. That being said, obviously, there has to be a chain of contact from patient 0 to the subsequent patients. It may not be visible. What the doctors are probably actually saying is there's no known contact with a previous patient, and it's exacerbated by the fact that in the Congo there's a lot of turmoil and conflict going on, and people are just moving around a lot. And that is making it very, very difficult to say, who were you talking to yesterday, or who were you touching 3 days ago? Of course, the worst disaster would be if Ebola went airborne. So far, it hasn't. But if it were to evolve, it's an RNA virus. And if it were to evolve a protein coat to where it could survive in the air for a significant amount of time, then you're looking at all the, reduced population fanatics finally getting their wish. All right, so we're going to go back to the phones. Tom in Indiana. Aloha, Tom. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind? Tom, are you there?
Yeah, I am. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you, and you're on the air. What's on your mind?
Okay. I sent a letter today to Representative Omar, and I encouraged her for what she has been saying and bringing things out to light, and also told her to review your show of 6/8 of 18, and that had about the Liberty ship. And I give you your phone number in that so she can listen in there, and I think that would give her more ammunition for the next time she wants to address some of the people in the Congress.
Yeah, I think Omar is already realizing she's a one-term congresswoman, and she may decide she doesn't need to pull any punches anymore. She did tragically mishandle that comment about 9/11. And that was kind of naive on her part.
She said, we don't know what happened.
Yeah.
And I don't think that they ever knew who actually did this.
No, we don't. We do know that the official story is a lie.
I think that was a true statement, she said.
Yes.
So
yes, you're right. You're right. I take back what I said.
Also, and I see Rivero on TV, and it reminded me of the time he got hit by the chair in the nose. And he had these skinheads on there, and the one pushed his buttons, calling him Jerry King. He says, and Rivero got real mad. He says, "That's your name, isn't it?" So anyway, that's my 2 cents today, then. Thanks,
all right,
Mike.
Thanks an awful lot. I didn't realize there was another Rivero out there in this line of work. Okay, let's see. Boy, lots of callers here. Paul in Montana, aloha. Well, oh, wait a minute. We already did Paul in Montana and Tom in Indiana. Oh, the phone lines are clear. Okay. Got a little confusing there. Okay, getting on back to Julian Assange here. Apparently, YouTube got caught removing videos that were being put up sympathetic to Julian Assange and talking about freedom of the press and the importance of protecting investigative journalists from government harassment. YouTube was caught taking them down. They got called on it. Now they've put some of them, but not all of them, back up. Apparently, Julian Assange's mother sent a message to the president of Ecuador, which sadly I cannot read on the air without risking our license. Now, the Julian Assange indictment has been unsealed. And it's based on stuff that's actually been known for over a year, which underscores the fact that Chelsea Manning's imprisonment for contempt is purely punitive. They already have the information that they were asking her about. Now, the indictment also does, talks about the attempt to crack the password, but it does go forward and say, yes, you can't protect your sources. You can't do that anymore, and you can't reveal government secrets. So this is going to be an interesting case. And I think ultimately it will go all the way to the Supreme Court. And I hope with the conservative Supreme Court, constitutionalists, they're going to say, yeah, we reaffirm the Nixon decision. Getting on over to the war zones here, Turkey aims to seize Tel Rafat after the Russian forces withdraw. Which I don't know that the Russian forces plan on withdrawing until the U.S. forces withdraw. Because there was a deadline for the U.S. to get out of Syria, and so far, that hasn't happened. Anyway, let's see. Mike Pompeo is out there saying that the Russian presence in Venezuela is an obvious provocation. They're provoking us. I'm sorry, Mike, but going on in, destabilizing a country, setting up somebody to declare themselves a replacement president, and then going around and arm twisting everybody to agree, that's the provocation. That's the initiating event. Russia is responding. Russia is reacting to U.S. aggression, as they have been all along. Okay, got to take another commercial break, and we will be right back.
I'm getting older and noticing that my body just doesn't work as well as it used to. So I like to keep fit as possible by hitting the gym a few times a week. Recently, I started having a nagging bicep pain, and it got so bad I couldn't even lift the weights. When I was complaining about it to a friend, he told me about Angioprim. He said chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in veins and arteries that may cause blockages. After just 1 week of taking Angioprim, the pain was gone, and now I'm back in the gym full strength. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in Angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. So to learn more, go to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com, or talk to a trained consultant. Call Angioprim toll-free at 877-882-7221. You'll feel better with more energy. Call 877-882-7221 or go to the website angioprim.com.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
The reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. September 2018. Extendivite works in keeping my blood pressure in the normal range. I've been using Extendivite for many years now. May 2018. Great product. I use regularly and I rarely get sick. March 2018. This product has relieved what appeared to be angina pain in my chest and shortness of breath after climbing stairs. I'm quite happy about it. February 2018. My husband, son, and I have been using this product for a few months now, and we have noticed an improvement in our joints and blood pressure. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite. We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. We're going to go back to the phones to Art off the grid. Aloha, Art. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
Yeah, first of all, as far as Chelsea Manning goes, unless he has actually had the surgery, he is still a he. But as far as I know, he's already had the surgery. But still doesn't change his DNA, which means he is still a he, no matter what he has to do.
Well, you know, the whole transgender thing is you could just be whatever you imagine yourself to be. I don't think it's working. I've been imagining myself to being a wealthy talk show host for years, and it hasn't happened.
Yeah, I've had this. I identify as a rich person, and I just don't seem to have the money. Anyway, with regards to the whole transgender thing, I was listening to Rush earlier today, and he was talking about this law trying to force schools to do whatever with the transgender, and part of the article read that one of the arguments within the transgender community is that there is no innate difference between men and women. All right, well, here's my argument, and I challenge anyone out there to prove me wrong. If there is no innate difference between men and women, then we must refer to the old saying that it doesn't matter what's on the outside that counts, it's what's inside that matters. Therefore, we should be able to do away with all nudity laws. We no longer need a men's room versus a woman's room.
Yep.
You see where I'm going with this? How many people have a problem here?
Well, believe it or not, there was this court case over transgender rights, and this is over in the District of Illinois. Judge Jorge Alonso, and basically it's a lawsuit against transgender facilities in a school district, but basically saying that the kids using those facilities have no right to visual bodily privacy. So you're bang spot right on there. That's the next step. They're going to say that everybody uses these transgender facilities and you all get to walk around naked and look at each other.
Well, I did read an article yesterday talking about some schools were actually removing the bathroom, the toilet stalls, the doors. They were removing the doors. So, hey,
Well, that was being done. That was being done because supposedly somebody had written a threatening note inside one of those stalls, and it was an overreaction. The parents are very upset. Apparently, the girls are literally bringing blankets from home to hang over the frame so they can have a little bit of privacy in there.
Yeah, it's just absolutely crazy. But here's my thing, if you people out there don't have a problem with public nudity and all of this kind of stuff, you know what? It doesn't bother me one bit. I grew up around naked people, so it doesn't bother me a bit to run around downtown naked. If you want to look at Billy Bob and his Dunlap disease, hey, we're all good, folks. Let's just let's just do away with clothing. Let's just ban clothing, and we call it a day, right? If after all, if there's no innate difference, then
it is silly here. All right, Art, I got to let you go. We got to take a break for station identification, and we will be right back.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
This is RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here, and with a follow-up to Art Off the Grid, which I wasn't able to get in before the station break. Obviously, Claire and I, at least for the moment, we live here in Hawaii, and Hawaii's history going way back. Yeah, everybody walked around naked, or maybe just a loincloth, and that was pretty much it. Then the missionaries showed up and convinced everybody that you had to have clothing, which was for sale over at the plantation stores. And it was very plain white stuff. And so the Hawaiians just started painting the clothes. That's the origin of the garish Hawaiian shirt. And even after all of that missionary conversion and everybody's, dressing up around the churches and around the villages, nudity out on the beaches was still just sort of a fact of life. And then some years ago, a coalition of morally concerned citizens, all of whom seem to own T-shirt and swimwear stores, got the state to pass a law where nudity on a beach is now you can be fined for it. It's now banned. You come here to Hawaii and it's a tropical paradise, and get you back into those swimsuits. Can't have the naughty bits showing. Polynesia, depends which islands you're on. Some are very strict about that sort of thing. Others are not. I remember when I was in Tahiti, down on the beach, some were, some weren't. Nobody noticed. Just no big deal about that. As far as the gender issue is concerned, I think Art may have it backwards, because I think the gender people are saying it's what's on the inside where there's no innate difference between male and female. And that, of course, goes all the way back to Margaret Mead and coming of age in Samoa and this whole tabula rasa idea that is the philosophical foundation for liberalism. That everything that we think, feel, say, know is a product of the environment, and we inherit absolutely nothing of our minds from our parents. And that's absolutely absurd. It's a combination of both. For one thing, Mead's book was discovered to be a fraud. She made several very obvious, glaring misstatements in it. And the government of Samoa actually contacted these two girls that Mead had basically, her entire book was based on talking to these girls. And the girls were talking story. They were trying to be polite. They could see where Margaret Mead was trying to lead them, and just to be polite, they said, well, yeah, that's what we do and how we go. So that's why liberalism keeps falling flat on its face. It is founded on a fallacy. We human beings are not cookie cutter. Everybody's like everybody else. We're all unique individuals. We are a product of what we inherit from our parents, our ancestors, multiplied by our life experience. And that's why no two of us are ever going to be alike, despite what the liberals think they can do. Okay, getting on back to the war zones. Over in Pakistan, there's a bomb that exploded at an open air market, killing at least 16 people. 13 others were injured. This is in the Pakistani city of Quetta, near a residential area where minority Shiite Muslims live. And I have a comment about these Sunni and the Shiite and the Muslim and the Jews and the Christians. Guys, it's all the same religion. It goes all the way back to Abraham. Can't you find some unity there and stop cutting each other's throat over who's got the right religion? So, over in Sudan, the protests are continuing. Now, as we mentioned, the army had stepped on in and sided with the protesters and forced the current government out and basically established a military coup. Well, that's not what the Sudanese people want. They want a new civilian government, and so the protests are continuing there. The Taliban up in Afghanistan has announced their annual spring offensive. Tickets are now on sale at Ticketron. It's just kind of weird. I mean, you know, hunker down. We're coming for you. So we'll see what happens there. The Trump administration has revoked the visa over the prosecutor for the International Criminal Court because he doesn't want that prosecutor to find out that some people did something in Afghanistan. So, got something to hide there, Donald. We know this government has engaged in war crimes, including torture. Okay. Let's see. President Carter, former President Carter, is out there saying that Congress should reject unconstitutional anti-BDS laws. And yeah, they should, because anti-BDS laws are an attack on freedom of speech. Just like the arrest of Julian Assange is an attack on freedom of the press. The tyrants are coming for us all. And it is very shameful, I think, to see all those members of Congress who supposedly somewhere along the way have taken an oath to preserve, protect, and defend that Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. They just blithely throw away the First Amendment right to freedom of speech in order to please their masters in Tel Aviv. Oh, who cares about freedom of speech? Oh, Tel Aviv, give us more money for next campaign. Now, the founder of the BDS movement has apparently been denied entry to the United States. He had all of his papers in order. He had a valid visa. And he got to the airport outside Tel Aviv, and all of a sudden he was blocked. And he was told his travel block was due to, quote, an immigration matter. And airline staff told him they had orders from the U.S. consulate in Tel Aviv and U.S. Immigration Services to not let him get on the plane. So they're really pushing hard for this. They're really going to do it. They're going to shred that First Amendment for the benefit of a foreign power. I mean, that should make you very angry. Makes me angry. If I actually had a dog, I'd be kicking it right about now. Trump has announced that the sanctions on North Korea will stay in place, taking that hard line. He says it's not the right time to ease sanctions on Pyongyang. Now, this may be in response to Moon Jae-in's saying you need to start going tit for tat. When North Korea gives, you must give. When North Korea gives, you must give. But apparently Trump is maintaining his attitude. North Korea gives us everything we want first, and then maybe we'll do something nice for them. Meanwhile, there's been a major reshuffling of the leadership of North Korea, and they have a new nominal head of state, a new premier, and Kim Jong-un has a new title, which is Supreme Representative of all the Korean people. Now, he's clearly consolidating his power, and I think that may be because he thinks there is a war on the way. Speaking of war, an article out of Rolling Stone, the Pentagon's bottomless money pit. And it basically goes through several examples of just the reckless disregard the Pentagon has for all the money that they've got. And I can understand where that comes from. They have vast sums of money to play with, $700 billion every year, and rising. And rising and rising. And I got exposed to it a little bit years ago when I was still working for Robert Abel, and we actually got hired by a government contractor to get a video presentation put together for the Strategic Defense Initiative. And it resulted in us flying out to Colorado like once a week, which was like, wow, that's a lot of money. And just watching these people with the way they spent money. Now, homes are on a tight budget. Film production's on a tight budget. These guys, oh man, the money just flowed like water. It took a little getting used to. But there may be some limits here because members of the Senate Armed Services Committee from both parties are showing deep skepticism about President Trump's Space Force proposal. Now, the Pentagon brass are out there trying to defend the plan, saying, yes, we need Buck Rogers. We need Fireball XL5 up there. We need the Thunderbirds up there in orbit. And James Imhoff said, when we first heard about the proposal, I asked two simple questions. What will the organization fix? How much will it cost? Now, of course, the Pentagon's attitude is going to be, well, we suspect that Russia and China are deploying space weapons, which, going back to the Strategic Defense Initiative, that's what the United States wanted to do. But I would be very careful about that, and all of you know my concern about war in low Earth orbit and how dangerous it could be. We could literally imprison ourselves on Earth and not be able to launch any space missions for 100 years until all that debris finally came down. And the European Space Agency just today released a video showing the upper stage of a rocket has broken into pieces as it's orbiting around the Earth. What makes it interesting is this rocket was launched up there 10 years ago. The implication being that it hit something or something hit it and broke it into pieces. And so now, instead of just being this one little, upper stage rocket, it's now 30, 40, who knows how many pieces. And if they're below a certain size, nobody knows where they're going. All right, Tom Fitton over at Judicial Watch is saying that the spying on Donald Trump was run out of the Obama White House. And of course, we're seeing the Democrats circle the wagons. Chuck Schumer was out there saying, you retract that. How dare you say there was spying? You retract that, or you have proof. And Barr came on back and said, well, there was all the electronic surveillance. And that prompted James Comey to say, well, come on, electronic surveillance, that's not really spying. Just like waterboarding isn't really torture. When Clapper was talking about the spying thing, he actually slipped up and said, we were spying. Oopsie, little bit of a goof there. Over at Wikipedia, they have an entry for Spygate. And the title is Spygate parentheses, conspiracy theory by Donald Trump. And apparently so many people tried to correct that Wikipedia has now locked it. Wikipedia, in Wikipedia's view, Spygate is just a conspiracy theory by Donald Trump. And of course, if you read the article, and it just goes right down, Trump announced and elaborated without providing any evidence. So you can see where Wikipedia is coming from on this, which is why I don't use them for much of anything anymore. The Democrats still want Trump's tax returns. Actually, what they want is to make an issue about them. Trump has said he will not release them until his IRS audit is over. House Democrats are saying, we're going to go to court. But they're going to have to provide a legitimate legislative reason to explain why they want them. And the Democrats are now saying, well, it's our responsibility to oversee the audit. All of this, of course, is politically motivated because Donald Trump's financial disclosure records that he had to file when he ran for president, there's much more information in there. This is just about, again, the Russian collusion thing exploded in their face, so now it's on to the tax returns. We've got to get the tax returns. We're going to just harumph and huff and scream about the tax returns because they don't have anything else. Donald Trump is going to Japan May 26th to May 28th, and during which Trump said that he wants to see a real live sumo match at Tokyo's Ryogoku Kokugikan, which is this world-famous sumo wrestling arena. It's even been used in a lot of movies. If you've seen the James Bond movie, You Only Live Twice, that's the place. So the JSA is going to reserve several box seats that surround the president's seat for security personnel, but he's going to be in the first 3 rows. So I hope they're careful where those sumo wrestlers are going when they get thrown out of that ring, because that happens a lot. Over in Newsweek, there's a columnist by the name of Seth Abramson who came out with the following column, which he also retweeted. Some people are asking when the time to march is, but a growing number of people are asking when the time to march and occupy is. Either America gets an answer on whether Trump and Kushner pose a national security threat, or it's hard to see how there could be any justice or repose. This guy was excoriated because people are interpreting his comments as calling for open rebellion against the presidency. It's amazing to see the vitriol. And what's really upsetting, let's see, somebody just sent me something. I'm taking a look at it. Well, I'm going to look at it the next commercial break. The vitriol out there and the infighting. And while they're doing all this fighting, they're not taking care of this country. And if you look at the laws they are passing, it's all this transgender nonsense. In fact, the House Democrats have just introduced a bill that would force every single school in America to allow transgender boys to compete as girls. That's their idea of good legislation. Meanwhile, of course, the heartland is still flooded. The flood control infrastructure is still being neglected. There's going to be food shortages all over this country. But Congress can't be bothered. We've got to get those tax returns. We've got to get Trump and Kushner. The government is dysfunctional. It is really dysfunctional. All right, a little bit of good news. CNN's ratings have taken a nosedive, and Rachel Maddow's numbers are getting worse. We, the people, are not going to soon forget how CNN and Rachel Maddow spent 2 years pushing this fake story about supposed collusion between President Trump and Russia during the 2016 presidential campaign. CNN has now fallen to 15th place in prime time ratings. That's 1-5. So that's a little bit of good news there. Okay. Now, the stock market had a good day, their usual traditional, manipulation for a happy ending on Friday. But a lot of people are saying the stock market is going to be looking for a decline. And this article out of Investment Research Dynamics is saying gold and silver may be setting up for a big move. Personally, I'd like to see it happen. But we've noticed that every time gold and silver get up to a certain point, it gets hammered back down again. They don't want people leaving the stock market or closing their bank accounts to get into metals. So it's all being manipulated. We talked about that on History Channel. We'll be right back after these few words.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you some from Amazon.com. This product is superb. I have been taking it for about a year now, and I can feel my cardiovascular system run like a Swiss watch. I definitely recommend this product for anyone that has high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and heart palpitations, A+. It's potent, but it works. I have been waking up for the past 3 years with numb hands, and a week into using Extendivite, my numb hands seem to have cleared up. My circulation was off, and now it's back on track. So I'm happy. I feel so energized, and I have my husband on it now. My mother-in-law has cholesterol problems, so I bought her a bottle as well. Thank you so much. Love the product. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
Welcome to What Really Happened Radio. Visit us online at whatreallyhappened.com. And now, set your eyes on the future and let's consider what really happened.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And story just now breaking. This is from the Gateway Pundit. Apparently, France is willing to consider offering Julian Assange asylum if he requests it from them. Now, Julian Assange's French lawyer, Juan Branco, has... hello?
Omar, and I encourage her for what she has been saying. And
I'm getting a replay here.
Also told her to review your show of 6/8 of 18, and that had about the Liberty ship. And I give you your phone number in that so she can listen in there, and I think that would give her more ammunition for the next time she wants to address some of the people in the Congress. About some of the things that are
I
happening.
think Omar is already realizing she's a one-term congresswoman, and she may decide she doesn't need to pull any punches anymore. She did tragically mishandle that comment about 9/11, and that was kind of naive on her part.
She said we don't know what happened, and I don't think that they ever knew who actually did this.
No, we don't. We do know that the official story is a lie.
I think that was a true statement she said.
Yes.
So I don't know why she's getting into.
Yes, you're right. You're right. I take back what I said.
Also, and I see Rivero on TV, and that reminded me of the time he got hit by the chair in the nose, and he had these skinheads on there, and the one pushed his buttons, calling him Jerry King.
Okay. All right, there we go. Yeah, we had something going on weird there where we were getting a segment from an earlier part of the show being replayed. All right, so here's the story. France is willing to consider offering Julian Assange asylum if he asks for it. Now, it's a very tricky situation. Julian Assange's lawyer has apparently asked President Emmanuel Macron to bring the Nobel Peace Prize nominated publisher to France to avoid extradition to the United States. But Assange has to make a formal request. France just does not say, we will grant you asylum. I'm sure that Assange will do that, but there is a little bit of a logistics problem in that right now he is in British custody, and I don't think the British are going to turn him over to France, even if France says we have granted him asylum. So it's a symbolic gesture at best, unfortunately. Okay, let's grab a phone call. James in Sacramento, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, aloha, Mike. I was listening to the couple of people calling in and you talking about the transgender stuff. And thing that I could go into links, but I'm going to try to cut this short. There's a few different ways that you have to look at male and female. And believe me, there is a big difference.
Of course.
I don't care what I don't care what these people try to say about everybody's equal and all that. It's like, that ain't happening. And the other thing is that, I've known some guys back in high school that were unsure about their sexuality. And I've known some girls, out of high school, usually not in high school, but out of high school. And then the thing, I grew up I'm 6 years younger than you. So I grew up with a bunch of hippies. And when it came to running around nude on the beach or at one of the rivers or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
He did. But
it was no big deal at all.
Yeah. And believe me, I was like 11 years old, and I could see the difference between the men running around nude and the women running around nude.
Yeah.
It's like, and that's why I realized I like women. They've got parts on them that are different than mine.
Yes. Viva la différence.
Yeah. Well, you're built differently. There's different things about you. And people that try to disregard that and try to say that, I don't know where their heads are at. I kind of figure out where their heads are at, but it just blows my mind. It's like you've got to be like halfway up your rectum with your head to figure out that everybody's equal. It just isn't. I had some friends of mine that were in the fire department, and they were totally upset when they started allowing women to come into the fire department. And the reason why was because they looked in there, you know, these guys are like 6 foot, 6'2".
Yep.
And they weigh 190, 200 pounds.
And it's all
like,
muscle.
Hey, that chick, yeah, there's no way she can haul me out of the fire, you know? I mean, it's just little things like that. So what they did, what do you do? Well, you change the qualifications for entering those things.
Yes.
You know, even in the police department, they had to change the qualifications for all that, you know, in order to match that the women could qualify. You know, and it just, and then here's my main story I want to tell you. One of the best stories of my life. I went to Tahiti. The guy that was talking earlier.
Okay, we're going to put you on hold. Okay, stay on the line.
Right.
And I want to hear your Tahiti story after these few words. We'll be right back.
That's a great one. Yeah.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com.
Do you worry a lot? Whether you're a college student, busy professional, parent, or grandparent, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in 1 to 2 weeks. Call 1-800-758-8746 or calmandclever.com.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more, plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AROutfitting.com.
Some are maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, just try it yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far 5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. We're going to go back to James in Sacramento, who's going to tell us about his adventures in Tahiti.
Tahiti. beautiful, beautiful. My wife was friends with a French Tahitian woman, and we went down there, and it was a great experience. But one of the things that blew my mind was when we were out on sailboat, some friends, everybody's friends, everything's cool down there. And so we were out on the sailboat, and we anchored in this beautiful black sand beach, little cove. And my wife's friend was the one that could translate the French better than anybody else. So she comes up to me and asks if it's okay if they take their tops off. And I just started laughing. I was like, okay, well, why would you ask that? And she's like, well, because you're an American. And Americans get all weird about, I was like, so I just told her the story about growing up with hippies and everybody being, I said, if you want to take all your clothes off, I don't care. I don't care. And they actually just laughed. We had a really good laugh about that because they were like, oh my God, yeah, because most Americans are really, they take your, but that's the Tahitian thing is, go around topless. I don't know. If it freaks some people out, then that's their own problem.
I was not freaked out about it one tiny, tiny itty bit when I was down there.
Exactly. All I know is that they would not let us live in a hotel. They brought us into their homes. We had to stay with them in their homes. That's how friendly all these people are.
Most Polynesians tend to be that way. Here on Oahu, where we're more of an urban environment, it's a little bit more stressed. And Claire and I were just talking about how much it's changed since we moved here all those years ago. Because when we first moved here, it was very much like that. A lot of aloha, everybody was friendly, come on over, we're going to have poo-poos. Everybody was like a slow, careful, courteous driver. And today, it's like any other big city. But the other islands, Kauai, Maui, even the Big Island, those are much more laid back and more old Hawaii.
Yeah, even they don't go topless over there. I've been to Hawaii. I've been to all the different islands, and it's a beautiful place. But yeah, they've been Americanized. But it's it's just one of those things. Down in Tahiti, I was just tripping on how beautiful everything was, and really, it was the friendliness just amazed me.
Yeah, it really was. Here in Hawaii, there's only one public beach. It's clothing optional. It's Little Makena over on Maui, and I think the only reason it's still allowed to operate is it's such a long walk to reach it that the cops with their little ticket books just don't want to bother anymore.
Yeah, I think I've been there. I can't remember if I have or not, but in California, back in the 70s, we used to be clothing optional on a few beaches down in California, and that's all gone.
Yep. Got to protect those clothing industry profits. What can I tell you? Anyway, listen, we've gone down memory lane a little bit far enough for one day. So I'm going to let you go, James. Thank you very much for the phone call. And we're going to switch to Paul in Montana. Aloha, Paul. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Mr. Rivero.
Yes.
A few years back, when Ebola started getting play on the alternative media, I seem to remember a number of stories saying that a biolab in Sierra Leone that was paid for by Mr. Gates and Mr. Soros was where some monkeys, what have you, escaped and they started spreading the Ebola around Sierra Leone. Do you have any memory bells ringing concerning that? Thank you.
I have to be very honest. I do remember there was one other incident where there was this clinic that was supposed to be developing an Ebola vaccine, and like so many other vaccines, when it went to trials, it actually infected the people with the Ebola. Nobody knows where Ebola originated. It's never been documented. Nobody knows how it gets from one infection site to the other. A lot of people suspect it may be a biological weapon in development, or maybe somebody dropped a test tube. but it is a nasty one. But like I said, it comes in a wide variety of strains, which go all the way from totally harmless to humans all the way up to a 95% lethality rate.
One other thing, Mr. Rivero. What happened to the gecko?
As far as I know, he met another little gecko, and they're making little geckos out back. This being springtime.
Oh, and the gecko making new geckos.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. We're going to let you go. Now, Donald Trump has managed to score a little bit of a gotcha because, as you know, the immigrant detainees are still pouring over the border. There is no facility there to hold them. So Trump has said, well, since all of these Democratic mayors and governors have gone to the trouble of setting up sanctuary cities, we're going to take all these immigrant detainees and we're going to basically send them to the sanctuary cities and let them take care of it. And Nancy Pelosi just went absolutely ballistic, saying this is a terrible idea. And in fact, she called it despicable. So Nancy Pelosi loves the idea of a flood of illegal immigrant voters, just not in her home. She's a true NIMBY, not in my backyard. Did you know that New York Democrats have blocked college tuition aid for Gold Star families, but approved $27 million in aid for illegal immigrants? Now you think about that. These Gold Star families have lost a family member to the wars. They've lost a provider. And the families have kids that they want to go to college. And the New York Democrats said, well, we're not going to help you. We're too busy giving money to the illegal immigrants because they're all going to vote Democrat in 2020. All right, let's take another phone call here. Sherry in Texas, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. It's good to talk to you again.
Thank you.
I just happened to cross you. You were talking about WikiLeaks. I had a question there. But can I say something about what you're saying right now?
Sure.
Because I noticed something today. I read this article. It was a comment and about the money that that we spend each year on illegal immigrants for the state of Texas. And it said that the Federation for American Immigration Reform, which is capital FAIR initials, states that the cost of the illegal immigration for the state of Texas is $11 billion in education, medical, justice, and welfare benefits per year. Now, if we had that money, with that $11 billion per year, we could build the wall. We could give our teachers an $8,300 per year pay raise and cut our property taxes at the same time. And so the guy that wrote this comment said, build the wall.
Yes.
Please build the wall. Yeah, think of that. I mean, that's amazing. WikiLeaks, I was concerned about this, and I just was happening across the station just to see by some miracle you might be there, and you were. Mm-hmm. And the question you probably have already addressed, since we have here in America this history of silencing anyone that will be a liability to the elitists, I'm worried about him coming here. Can't he be sentenced in England, where they ban drugs that cause manic behavior and things? You know, I mean, does he have to come here to be sentenced?
Well, he has to come here to be tried. I mean, the indictment was issued by the United States Department of Justice and could not be tried on British soil. The only way that sort of thing happens is if you're operating under maritime law, which is jus gentium. Everybody's laws apply equally everywhere. But Britain is looking at tossing him in the hoosegow for a year because he skipped his bail hearing to seek asylum in the Ecuadorian embassy. And once Britain is done with him, I'm sure they're going to throw him in chains and put him on a plane for the United States, at which point the current indictment will be brought to bear. And it's going to just open up this whole can of worms because clearly the United States government wants to establish a new legal precedent I really do think this is an attack on the Nixon decision to say that no, reporters, journalists do not have any protections if they are reporting to the American people that the government is lying to them.
Yeah, I don't see how we can set a precedent with the Constitution. It has to stand.
Well,
I mean, we can't.
We're talking about a
amend the
Supreme Court
Constitution.
decision. We're talking about a Supreme Court decision. The First Amendment is supposed to be an absolute. The whole point of what the U.S. government wants to do is say there have to be limits. And it wouldn't be the first time, because every time the United States gets into a major war, yeah, there are limits imposed on freedom of speech. And then after the war is all over, the limits are taken off and everybody says, you know, celebrate the return of our republic, blah, 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 blah.
Well, I'm hoping he'll have a good attorney, and it'll, because I keep thinking of Eric Brockovich. That's the first thing I thought of when I heard the report.
Yes.
And how her intent was to stop PG&E from the lies and that resulted in cancer and deformities of all these children and parents and the horrible things that were happening. And she was given this piece of paper by the guy in the bar.
Yep.
And that was the smoking gun she needed to put PG&E in its place, and it worked. And, you know, I don't see that he was doing anything differently than Eric Brockovich did. His intent was to expose something we all needed to know about.
Yes.
And yes. So
well, that was exactly what you know, the Supreme Court ruled in the Nixon decision. And what the U.S. government is trying to do is say that Assange was not just a passive recipient of this classified information, but that he was an active participant in trying to obtain it. And if they can, I think that's why they were pounding on Chelsea Manning over the last couple of weeks, is to basically get her ready to say, yes, Assange was helping me crack into the State Department computer, or I'm sorry, Defense Department computer, because then they can put him away. That's definitely a Title 18 violation. But as long as Assange just simply accepted what Manning was sending over, then he's just as covered as the New York Times and the Washington Post was.
Does he have good counsel?
He's got a really good legal team around him, and I imagine they're going to do the best job they can, because there's a lot of attention on them, and this could, their entire future careers could light up because of this.
So they can come here and defend him.
Oh yes, of course.
And if he goes to trial. Yeah.
Of course.
Okay. Well, I feel better about that. Okay. Yeah. All right, guys. It's good to talk to you again, Mike.
All right. Well, thanks an awful lot, Sherry. We're going to let you go and switch over to Rick in Arizona.
Thanks.
Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yo, Mike. You were talking about back problems a couple shows ago.
Yeah.
You know, back in the 70s and 80s, I remember different people that had back problems, they would get put in the hospital, and then they would put a harness on them and suspend them above their bed for a couple, 2-3 hours a day for a couple, 2-3 weeks, and they would become completely healed. I knew one guy who had a
that would not be appropriate in this case.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying is they don't do it anymore because you know, there's no money in it. It takes too much, you know, time in the hospital. But if you know, where you have a bad vertebrae or a compressed disc or something,
yep,
they would suspend you for 2-3 weeks. And I know a guy that had a bad back his whole life, and they did that for him. And now he's 85 years old, and this was in the 80s. He never had a problem with his back again.
Yep.
So I guess, you know, maybe if you could get suspended above a bed for a while, you know, if you got a bad back.
Well, it depends on how you're being suspended, and of course there is that, you know, gravity inversion, sort of a little, call it a bench. We were talking about that the other day, and I had one when my first wife also had a back injury, and I bought her one of these things that grabs you by the ankles, and you can basically tip backward, and it uses your own body's weight to put traction on the spine to basically uncompress the discs and get things going in there. And unfortunately, her doctor said not appropriate for her case. I loved it. I used it for a couple of...
Can you say... Yeah, but can you say, like, when it inverts, how long can you stay inverted? You know, I mean, like, you know, if you're suspended above a bed, you can stay suspended for 2, 3, 4 hours at a time. Can you stay upside down like that for 2, 3 hours?
I don't remember the longest I stayed upside down. I don't think it was 2, 3, or 4 hours, but you know, it was basically I stayed upside down until my back felt better. And then I flipped back over and I went and I did other things. I only kept it for a couple of days and then I took it back in and I traded in on a set of weights. You know, I actually used to have muscles long ago.
But by being suspended for 3, 4 hours a day, you could actually heal the disc. But apparently, I knew a nurse, and they said they don't do that anymore. They just give you pills, or they want. I knew a guy who's a surgeon of the hand in Vegas.
Yeah.
He said he stood in on a few back surgeries. He told me, don't, unless you can't get out of bed, you know, don't have back surgery.
No, it's very, very risky. Again, I went through that with my first wife, and it's bad news. You never really recover from back surgery. So anyway, listen, I'm going to let you go. Thank you very much. We're coming up on the top of the hour, and the lovely Lady Claire. So let's go with Mark in North Carolina. And Mark, I may have to take you through the commercial break. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike, how's it going? Listen, with Julian Assange now, I think Trump has shown his true cards. He makes believe he doesn't even know who Assange is. WikiLeaks are. He kept on repeating it when he was running for president at various campaigns.
Oh yeah, I mean what Trump did yesterday morning. I mean, I've lost all respect for him. I'm still going to defend him against all the skullduggery because I believe in restoration of the process and the republic. But as far as Trump personally, absolutely no respect.
Problem is, too, he's colluding with the very skullduggeries that actually try to bring him down.
The skullduggerers. Okay, Mark, I got to put you on hold. Okay. Don't hang up. We're going to take a break for commercials. We'll be right back.
Do you know there is an ongoing war right here in America? Are you aware that U.S. citizens have been classified as enemies of the state since 1933? Have you recognized that our entire government is really a vast network of interlocking corporations engaged in commerce? Look up Title 28, Section 3002. Tune in to In Defense of Humanity on Saturday nights at 7 p.m. Central Time. Find out what's really going on and learn how to protect yourself and your family as flesh and blood men and women living in a corporate reality.
Don't regret growing old. It's a privilege denied to many. Heart disease is taking our youth from us. Young people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond are dying needlessly. One of the hardest messages I've ever had to deliver is to convince people that something natural like Extendivite should be taken as a preventative measure. I'm sure you heard an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Extendivite is that ounce. Take Extendivite for 1 year and see what your doctor has to say and how much better you feel. Herbs take time to address the problem. It took years of life to have a problem. Give Extendivite 1 year to fix the problem. Don't wait until it's too late. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or visit us on Amazon.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, the number 2, keep it today.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something by and by, the rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, I mean the panic is on. Can't get no way, can't draw no pay.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And we're talking with Mark in North Carolina. Mark, can you just sort of pick up from where we left off?
Yeah, with Trump, with his performance yesterday about Julian Assange, I'm wondering if there are two things, or maybe a combination of both. Either the man is a complete liar and fake, or the dozen Diet Cokes he drinks a day, the aspartame, is affecting his brain, and I'm not kidding. That's very possible, too. Or maybe it's a combination of both. But whatever it is, the man is unqualified to sit in that White House. I'd say impeach him for not for the Russian nonsense, but for illegal wars, conducting illegal wars and stuff. The only problem is, look at the cultists. You get then as what do you call it? The end of the world cultists that you would get then who would take over as president. So we're messed up one way or the other. The only good thing, the only sunlight in this is, I think this could be a shot in the arm for Tulsi Gabbard. She's the only one of the Democrats, except for Mike Gravel. I think he also who spoke up for Assange, and I think she's now got the 65,000 contribution she needed to be in the debate stage, and I think we really could be looking at a Tulsi Gabbard presidency. I know they're going to throw everything at her. They've already thrown a lot at her, but I think she has the ability to do it. I've watched her on YouTube. I've watched her at different events. Her speaking ability, she's got good speaking ability from the get-go, but she's got to put a little bit more, oomph into it, and I think that we're starting to see that. I think she's going to make a fool out of just about everybody else at the debate stage. And if she had to debate Trump, she'd make him look like a complete monkey. I mean, the guy,
Well, see, you're absolutely right there because, Trump's style of debate, when he was going up against Hillary, which people loathed, it was okay for him to bully her and be abrupt with her. With Tulsi Gabbard, if Trump tries that, it's going to backfire horribly. Anyway, listen, I need to let you go. We're coming up here on the top of the hour, and we're about to get the Lady Claire in here. Before we do, though, believe it or not, Hillary Clinton came on out saying that Game of Thrones best depicts life in politics and claimed that the treatment of Cersei Lannister resembles what she suffered at the hands of Trump supporters. Oh, my goodness. Let's all feel sorry for poor Hillary Clinton. She just projects that she's Cersei Lannister in the Game of Thrones. Okay. So, apparently out in California, they've issued fake IDs to 3 million residents. Now, as you know, there is a new nationwide mandate called Real ID. And the whole point of Real ID is to determine whether somebody really is authorized to work inside the United States or not. And to get a Real ID requires quite a bit of provenance as to where you came from, where you were born, or if you're a naturalized citizen. But apparently, out at the California Department of Motor Vehicles, they didn't follow the guidelines. They just handed out the cards. 3 million of them. And that is really part of the problem. We're not going to solve the immigration problem until everybody's willing to play by the rules. Okay, so there's the music. Time for a station break. When we come back, we will be with the lovely Lady Claire.
How healthy are your arteries? Deteriorating circulation has a number of early warning signs. High cholesterol, high blood pressure, fingers and or toes often go cold, arms and or legs often go to sleep, sharp diagonal crease in the earlobe, short walks cause cramping or pains in legs. Memory is not as good as it used to be, ankles swell late in the day, chest pain after physical exercise or emotional stress. If you experience even one of these symptoms, your circulatory system is crying out for attention. Extendivite is a natural solution to help improve your overall health. Extendivite is not your average heart tonic. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or find us on Amazon.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you'll find out what the Fukushima's going on.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show, hour number 3. And for those of you watching on YouTube, this gorgeous creature sitting next to me is the lovely Lady Claire, who likes to spend third hour every Friday with her unique perspective on the world. So, Lady Claire, what's the first thing that you want to talk about?
Well, color me unsurprised by this, but apparently the Hague court has caved to U.S. threats and has rejected a case regarding Afghan war crimes. And the ICC judge claimed a lack of evidence and a poor outlook for state cooperation. Gee, do you think?
Yeah, they only took the visa away from the guy.
You know, and threatened him with only God knows what. And the ICC had previously vowed continue to operate undeterred by any U.S. threat of punitive action against the ICC when it was first considering looking at these allegations that U.S. personnel committed war crimes, including instances of unlawful detention and torture of Afghans, as well as the killing of civilians. The window of time the ICC prosecutors considered for their investigation went from May 2003, within the opening years of the U.S. occupation, to 2017. And the chamber said, oh, yeah, we've got all the stuff. But then, you know, they just took a U-turn. And they made the statement, the chamber hereby decides that an investigation into the situation in Afghanistan at this time would not serve the interests of justice, and accordingly rejects the request. You know, Mike, this is so frustrating. And what is kind of a tear my hair out moment, we know there has been torture done in almost every single country that the U.S. has invaded and occupied. But apparently, the U.S., its military, the Pentagon, State Department, and Surveillance Department have to know that some of the worst excuses for torture were used here, coupled with the actual torture. And so, Mike, what I think I'm looking at, apparently the U.S. government and all these various dispersed agencies are circling the wagons to attempt to salvage what's left of their credibility by not allowing these issues to be investigated by the ICC.
I have to disagree with you. This is not about credibility. This is about impunity.
Well, I'd like to go on to my next statement, where I said, to the ladies and gentlemen in the bowels of power in D.C., I got a newsflash for you. You lost your credibility the minute the U.S. government attacked and began to occupy Afghanistan. Now, you and your sycophantic warmongering media have utterly lost the fight for being able to get anything right, including massive incidents of friendly fire at social gatherings. And that must have really impressed their Afghani counterparts when they were shooting at a wedding party, which is a common, isn't it called a double tap in military speak?
Well, no, a double
Oh,
tap is
okay.
when you go on in and you blow up the wedding party,
Okay.
and then you circle around and wait for the first responders to get
And
there.
then you get 'em.
And then you hit them
Oh,
again.
man. Yeah, okay. And there is something that I feel is very important for all of those alphabet soup agencies out there who are listening to us. And it is a very interesting statement attributed to John Morley, the first Viscount Morley of Blackburn. And he made the observation, you have not converted a man because you have silenced him.
Yep.
And
That's
I
absolutely
feel
true.
that's very, very appropriate to what's going on right now. It's like take no look to the guy behind the curtain, which is, the wizard, and he has nothing special to
Nope.
offer, Now, there are many people who are beginning to understand what's going on with these wars, but they don't want to say anything because they understand the price will likely be very high and to be paid very dearly. And yeah, Mike and I know a little bit about this, wouldn't you say?
Yeah,
The price?
yeah, I think
okay.
so. I think so.
And this, ladies and gentlemen, is what has to stop. But that will only happen if Americans who believe that the Constitution and Bill of Rights are the original contract with America come to a logical, peaceful, and fact-centric dialogue, which we can and should share with one another. It's very frustrating. It's very heart-rending.
It really is, but
Yeah.
you know it's going to backfire.
Mhm.
And the reason it's going to backfire is because with the ICC saying, well, we're not going to take a look at what happened,
Mhm.
Americans are free to let their imaginations run wild
Mhm.
and say, oh, my goodness, I mean, the U.S. government, they were torturing people. They could have been engaging in cannibalism. They could have been engaging in child sexual abuse.
Yeah.
We have no way of knowing
Yeah.
what they were doing,
Mhm.
except that we know that throughout all of these war years, the U.S. military has not been behaving with much in the way of, shall we say, decorum.
Or finesse.
Yes. And so this situation with blockading the ICC, and by the way, did you see Trump followed up
Yeah.
with another warning to the
Mhm.
ICC?
Yeah.
Don't you dare investigate anything Israel is doing.
Oh, my Lord.
So this is not about credibility. It's about impunity,
Yeah.
about the United States and Israel
Mhm.
being able to do what they're doing without any consequences under international
Mhm.
law. You know, Netanyahu and Trump are standing there, arms around each other's shoulders,
Mhm.
saying, "We am's above the law."
Yeah, absolutely.
We absolutely
I think
are.
we've got a show.
Okay, we're going to do a shout out now to our on-air affiliates who are just now rejoining our network. And what is your next story?
This is about the reality that the case against Assange has been manipulated and that there's a great big nothing burger there.
Well,
And
that's
maybe.
not entirely accurate.
Yeah.
It is a complicated issue.
Mhm.
The primary crime in the indictment, which was
Mhm.
unsealed a little while
Yeah.
ago, is that rather than just be a passive receptor
Uh-huh.
of classified information
Mhm.
from Manning,
Mhm.
that Assange himself actively participated in an attempt to break into a Department of Defense computer
He tried.
and failed.
And failed.
And
Okay.
failed. Well, actually, it was Chelsea Manning that was
Uh-huh.
trying and
Yeah,
failing.
okay.
The question is, with all the, is she being put under pressure to testify that yes, Assange was an active participant?
Mhm.
Did he get her coffee?
Yeah.
Did he, massage her shoulders when she was typing away on the computer or something
Right,
like
right,
that?
yeah.
Which does cross the line from being a journalist into
Mhm.
Title 18 violations.
Yep.
But the other part of it is that the indictment is clearly trying to reverse many previously held presumptions
Yes.
about the rights of and protections of journalism.
Yeah.
When it reports to the American people that the government has been lying, whether that's Watergate or the Pentagon Papers or who knows what all else. The government apparently has finally realized that in the age of the internet and the independent media, they have lost their ability to lie to the American people with impunity. And they see that as a major problem in a war situation. And they want that ability to lie with impunity to come on back. And so that's really what they're talking about with this indictment. They want to reverse the Supreme Court's decision in Nixon versus New York Times and Washington Post to say that, yes, in point of fact, the government can tell the media, don't you dare report this or we're going to put you in jail. Basically, what the U.S. government wants to do is establish a U.S. equivalent of what is called a D notice in Great Britain.
Yes, I certainly understand that. And this does have some massive repercussions for journalists covering issues in the United States.
Yes.
And even Tulsi Gabbard went on record and said that this is one of the most horrific, chilling of the expression of freedom of speech that she has said in a long time that we've been looking at. And, you know, you just can't believe it because they are trying to create, let's say, an agenda that is going to be followed through by some sort of punishment if Assange actually gets to trial.
I think it's a very, very complicated issue, mostly because Assange has an ace up his hole, his sleeve rather.
Right.
And that is that he can basically say, Seth Rich.
Yep.
What I suspect may be getting ready to happen is the U.S. prosecutors are going to offer Assange a deal. And they're going to say, if you will implicate Russia in the DNC hack, okay, then you'll be out in a couple of years with good behavior. If you continue to say it was Seth Rich, we're going to send you away, you know, until the next millennium.
To Azkaban.
Yes.
Or the Earth equivalent thereof.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's going to happen. They're clearly trying to put pressure on Chelsea Manning. Everything that she was asked about in front of the grand jury was already known information from a year ago. So this is all about putting pressure on Manning to cooperate and to help put more pressure on Assange. It's a kangaroo court.
Yeah, I hear you.
Judge Kangaroo, report to the courtroom.
Right,
Judge Kangaroo, report to the courtroom.
Yes. And there was another article in Blacklisted News that I thought was pretty cogent. It's called Assange and the Unforgivable Sin of Disemboweling Official Narratives.
You mean that's a wrong thing to do?
That's a very wrong thing to do.
I've been doing it all this time.
Oh, my goodness,
I thought
Michael.
it was my civic duty here.
Yeah.
Let me get my disemboweling knife here.
Yes, okay. All right.
There we are.
And I'm concerned. I hope that the British treat him reasonably well. Do they have him in solitary confinement?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay.
Basically, they're holding him. He has to go before a judge regarding that bail hearing that he skipped.
Yeah.
Which, given that the crimes themselves have been withdrawn, I think a fair and honest judge would say, okay, you skipped your bail hearing, but the crimes for which you were being bailed out no longer exist. Therefore, you know, you're out of here. France, of course, has said they're willing to offer Assange asylum, and I'm sure that Assange's French lawyer is already doing that. But there is a logistical problem. How do they get Assange from the British jail to France before the U.S. can grab him?
They're going to have to get him back into a French consulate somewhere, wouldn't they? That's going to be dicey, Mike.
That's going to be very, very dicey.
Yeah.
I frankly don't see a way that it could be done.
Okay. Well, you know, we're all hoping the best for Mr. Assange, and that in the long run, what he has done is going to wake Americans and the world up to some of the horrific things that we're doing around the world. And as you said,
well,
with
he already has. I mean, that's why they're angry. WikiLeaks has just, you know, blown the cover off hundreds and hundreds of bad behaviors by U.S. politicians, the war machine, corporate leadership. WikiLeaks is doing really, really good work.
Yeah.
And Assange is the figurehead. But the fact of the matter is that WikiLeaks is going to continue regardless of what happens to Assange. And it may well be that the goal of some of this indictment is to, again, set a legal precedent to be able to say organizations like WikiLeaks are now illegal. Okay. And I look back, I think like 30 years ago, it was only 30 years ago,
Yeah.
the United States had laws that protected whistleblowers.
Yeah.
That said, if you see something that the government is doing wrong, like all this money that's vanishing into the Pentagon without
Right.
explanation,
Mhm.
or corporate malfeasance, like somebody is doing toxic dumping into a lake, you could blow the whistle and you were legally protected.
Mhm.
Now it's totally the reverse. If you blow the whistle on government wrongdoing, they're going to come after you. And I remember where it really began to start was TWA 800.
Yeah.
Where President Clinton signed an executive order revoking whistleblower protection for all the Navy units involved in recovering the debris.
Yeah.
So got something to hide there, Bill?
Yeah, right. And a very interesting development, by the way, with regard to the Assange case. Apparently, Ecuador's globalist regime just received billions to sell out Julian Assange. Now, Facebook has unpublished the page of Ecuador's former president, Rafael Correa. The social media giant confirmed yesterday, claiming that the very popular leftist leader violated the country's security policies. And so what Ecuadorian President Moreno has done is to literally have thrust a dagger into the heart of free speech today.
Oh, Julian Assange's mother had some harsh words for him.
Yeah. And after he allowed a foreign country's authorities into his nation's embassy in Britain to arrest the heroic whistleblowing and award-winning journalist, Julian Assange. Now, what was Moreno's quid pro quo in order to commit this betrayal? Oh, gee, a $4.2 billion loan guarantee from the IMF, and just when this country was in desperate financial need.
Yes, absolutely.
Mike, how coincident
that was
is
the blood
that?
money. That was the blood money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for $6 billion,
Yeah.
they just would have chopped Assange up inside that embassy. The way
Probably.
Khashoggi was
Yeah,
over
yeah.
there
I
in
know.
the Saudi embassy.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
that's what embassies are for.
Yeah, chopping other countries' people
Journalists up. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
And another very disturbing story, again out of blacklisted news. Apparently, U.S. prisoners have lost a combination of 20,000 years of life to false convictions. I
Yep,
looked at
it's a
that and I
big
had to
problem.
look at it again. It's terrible. And in 2018 alone, wrongly convicted prisoners lost more than 1,600 years of life behind bars. Now, this is a new record,
Yep.
according to the annual report from the National Registry of Exonerations, which tracks all exonerations from 89 onward. In 2018, 151 people were freed from serving sentences for crimes they did not commit. Let me run by that last part of it. For crimes they did not commit. They had served 1,639 years altogether, an average about 11 years per person. And, this just boggles my mind. The way that the U.S. treats evidence
Yes.
is very cavalier in the extreme. And so it's not unlikely that they're going to get those numbers because the chain of evidence is very much not protected.
Well, it's not just the evidence because, as it says right here, most of those exonerations are happening where misconduct by officials played
Yep.
a role.
Yeah, gee,
In
do you
other
think?
words, somebody's an ambitious prosecutor.
Yeah.
I'm going to send them up to jail because I'm running for district attorney next year.
Yeah, and that's another notch in their belt, right?
That's exactly
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
It's just a big game to them.
Mhm.
Where we're going to put somebody away. I'm going to get a bunch of headlines.
Mm-hmm.
So
And you remember how Hillary Clinton talked when she was a lawyer, boasting about how she got this rapist off with
child rapist.
Child rapist.
Child
hello.
rapist.
And there didn't seem to be a problem in her head that the guy was a child rapist. She was just on for the best deal she could get so that she could put it down. In
Oh,
her
she was just thrilled at what a great lawyer
Yeah,
she was.
Yeah. I wonder if the parents of the child who got raped thought so. I don't think so.
Probably not. In
Yeah.
fact, I understand there was a little bit of a backlash here.
Yeah. And here's something that every one of us who is driving a used car or a new car needs to know. Now, apparently, used car dealers didn't want deadly fix defects, so what did they do? They wrote a law to avoid it. And apparently, the guy, Carlos Solis, never knew he was driving with a shrapnel bomb inside his steering wheel. That would concern me, too, if I knew about it. The 35-year-old father of two was waiting to make a left turn on a suburban road outside of Houston when another car struck the front end of his Honda Accord, triggering its airbags. However, instead of protecting Solis, the defective airbag shot a piece of metal into his neck and severed his carotid artery, killing him within minutes.
I'm surprised that this is in a Honda.
Yeah.
Okay.
And now, Solis knew nothing about the danger. A used car dealer sold the car without fixing the airbags or warning him that Honda had actually recalled the vehicles 3 years earlier.
Okay, here's where the lawsuit's going to fall apart.
Yeah.
And it has to do with due diligence.
Okay.
Because you've all seen the Carfax situation with the little fox character.
Yep.
Okay, if you get the Carfax report on your car,
yeah.
Okay, because we did on the car that we got.
Yeah.
It has all the recalls listed there.
Mm-hmm.
And so this guy, if you're buying a used car anyway, you get the Carfax report.
Yeah.
In most states, it has to be provided. It's not even an option.
All right. Okay. Well, that's,
yeah, I mean, I wish them luck, but of course it gets back to the original issue of why something like this was allowed into the marketplace to begin with.
Yeah.
We have to take a break for commercials. We'll be right back.
The reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. By Christine, great for heart palpitations. By Ann, before I started using this product, every afternoon my ankles and my hands would be swollen. That doesn't happen anymore. So if that part of their advertising is true, I have to assume that the rest of it is also. Not to mention that when I had my yearly blood test, only a few weeks after beginning to use this product, my cholesterol had dropped over 30 points. I'm going to continue to take it. By Croc, I love this product. It really works. By Brad, works great, thank you. Tell us your story. Get your Extendivite today. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge $20, $30, $40, $50, if possible, $100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting Truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
If you got the money, honey, we got the bombs. We'll plant them anywhere you like and blow up anyone. Whip this world into a frenzy, killing babies, dads, and moms. If you got the money, honey, we got the bombs. If you got the money, well, we won't say we did.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. And before we get back to the news here, just a quick little reminder. Today is Tulsi Gabbard's birthday. And I think she is years old today.
Right.
And so, if Tulsi, if you're listening, happy birthday. What is your next story?
Well, this one was rather interesting and a little bit baffling. Georgetown University students have approved a new fee to fund reparations for slavery. And the vote results were announced after a contentious day on campus, with proponents of the measure hosting a rally and chanting, "When they don't act, we fight back."
That sounds a lot like a threat to me.
Yeah, it does,
Yeah.
And they're encouraging students to get out the yes
Give us the
vote.
reparations or we'll break something.
Yeah, okay.
This whole idea of reparations is complete and utter nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes out of this idea that we're all collectively guilty for everything that has ever happened or will happen, which I reject.
Yep.
I refuse to accept responsibility for things that happened before I was born.
Yep.
I refuse to accept responsibility for anything that happens where I am unable to exert a direct influence.
Right.
Okay? It's complete and utter nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
And this idea that today, in 2019, that money should be taken away from white people who have never owned slaves to be given to black people who've never been slaves, you can tell it's political pandering of the worst sort.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And again, you need to look at the numbers. I mean, the reparations people are saying, well, all white people are descendants of slave owners. Actually, there were very few slave owners in the antebellum South. In fact, it was only 2% of the population. There were even blacks that owned black slaves.
Right.
So how do you get reparations from them?
I don't know. And
I don't even think Ernst & Young could sort that mess out.
No, definitely not. Excuse the cough. But I do have an idea that I think would possibly work, or at least as a trial. And the other thing is, how do you know that these are the descendants of slaves? How does one prove that?
Well, the whole idea is their attitude is they don't need to. I mean, there are some individual blacks who have, I was going to use Alex Haley as an example, but unfortunately his book turned out to be less than truthful.
Oh, yeah.
There are individual blacks who have a family tree that goes on back and says, yeah, we were slaves at this particular point. And if somebody wants to give them reparations, that's all well and good. I imagine the Hemings family or the descendants of Sally Hemings.
Oh, yes, definitely. Definitely.
Have that lineage all the way back to Thomas Jefferson himself. But the attitude from the reparations people is it's all a collective guilt. We don't have to prove that any one of us was a descendant of slaves. We are all effectively, collectively, the descendants of slaves. You know something? I wish sometimes these collective descendants of slaves would take a look over in Africa at what happened to those people who were not brought to the United States.
Yeah.
Okay? Because if they want to get away from the American history of slavery, they're welcome to go back to Africa and take a look at what life is like there. Because if you want to talk about reparations for slavery, look at the improved lifestyles of the descendants in terms of health and access to education. And I mean, they're living much better here than they would be in Africa.
I agree. And what?
I need to readjust your microphone.
All right. Okay.
There we go.
Okay. Now, I think I have another way of helping any kid that's at risk in an inner city. Excuse me. Now, there are private educational models like the Kuman, like.
Would you like me to talk a little bit while you clear your throat?
Yes, I'm so sorry.
Okay,
Thanks.
all right. Well, we're going to do that. And so over here, apparently Brussels is giving Theresa May yet another shot at killing the Brexit deal. As we mentioned yesterday, there is a new deadline out there, Halloween. And basically, they're saying that either May's deal will pass or Parliament will be forced to revoke Article 50. In other words, the idea of a no-deal Brexit is now out there, and they're saying you either come up with a deal that the EU and Parliament like, or Brexit is off, which is, of course, what they have really been wanting all along anyway. Okay? So, may I? Whoops. Yes, that was not good. All right. All right. There you are. Let me turn up your microphone again.
Thank you.
And you are now live.
Mm-hmm. But I was mentioning that there are private educational institutions
Yep.
that seem to be filling the gap where public cannot or will not. And these people do an assessment of the kid. Where are they in terms of various skills, reading, mathematics,
Yep.
etc. And they bring the scores up, which is why these schools are the darlings of many very affluent parents
Yes.
who are looking at public schools and thinking, send my kid there? I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Yes.
All right, we got to take another break for commercials. We'll be
Alrighty.
right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Do you or a loved one suffer migraine headaches? Listen to what scientist Kurt Hendricks has to say.
35 million people in the United States suffer with debilitating migraines. If you or a loved one are one of them, you need to know about MigraLief. Hi, I'm Kurt Hendricks, the scientist that formulated and patented the MigraLief migraine formula. MigraLief is a non-prescription dietary supplement recommended by neurologists, pharmacists, and pediatricians to address nutritional deficiencies in both adults and children over 2 with migraines. Try MigraLief for 3 months and see the powerful difference it can make in your life, or get your money back, no questions asked. Go to MIG911.com or call 800-MIG-7354. You can change your life today.
So if you suffer from migraines, don't wait. Call 800-MIG-7354. That's 800-MIG-7354 or visit MIG911.com.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
It happens more often than we can imagine. In my case, I was sitting at home, and out of nowhere, I just started feeling uncomfortable. Then it got worse, and I started perspiring. I tried to ignore it, but I waited too long. The chest pain came as we were driving to the hospital emergency. I felt my life clock begin to tick. I barely survived. There was lots of damage done to my heart. What do I do now? I was lucky. I took a leap of faith and tried a 7-herb formula with hawthorn, garlic, cayenne, and more called Extendivite. Herbs have been used for thousands of years to keep us healthy. If you're not using Extendivite as a preventative supplement, maybe it's time to start. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And what is your next story, Claire?
The next story is almost too ugly to believe, except, they've got the shots, they've got the video. And apparently a 16-year-old girl was tasered and dragged down the stairs at her school after her teacher calls police over a dispute about the kid using her cell phone in class. And apparently, again, public school, I want to keep reminding you of this because people who are sending their kids to public schools need to be aware of what's going on. And her name was Denigma Howard, a 16-year-old kid, and she was involved in an altercation with officers at a Chicago school. Now, 2 officers restrained the teenager and then used a stun gun while she was on the floor. And her dad was apparently there, recorded the violent incident on Tuesday. And Chicago police are claiming that this gal bit officers while being escorted from the school. Now, new footage captures more of the distressing confrontation as Howard's family files a lawsuit against the officers for their alleged use of force.
Excessive use of force. Excessive use of force. Boy, how school has changed.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was in that little schoolhouse there in Loudon, the worst that ever happened is you'd get a rap across the knuckles with a flat ruler.
Yeah.
Not even an architect's ruler, but just a flat ruler.
Yeah.
That was and that was enough.
Yeah.
That was enough. And of course there'd be a message sent home to your family.
Yeah.
And your parents would say, look,
Mhm.
you're not supposed to stack the cows one on top of the other.
Probably not a good
during
idea.
that
Yes.
class.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So
I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around, if you look at the images, she's not a dumb kid, but she's acting out, and why? And, shouldn't there have been some better tools in place to take care of her?
I'm going to make a guess here right now that both parents work.
Yeah.
And so that her nurturing,
Yeah.
if you will,
Mhm.
is coming from peer group pressure,
Yeah.
from film and TVs.
Yeah, and live streaming stuff on the
and-
computer.
And
Yeah.
the behavior of the police themselves.
Yeah.
We're becoming a brutalized society.
Yeah.
And so it's understandable but regrettable that our children are becoming brutal as well.
Yeah, yeah. You get a lot of this, though, and again, only in the public schools.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're-
And here was an interesting story. Apparently, millions of Chinese youth have volunteered to be sent to villages in an echo of Maoist policy. And perhaps, I'm thinking about this, and maybe on the credit score, which is now universal in China and everyone has to be a part of it,
Yeah.
apparently you could probably get some demerits removed from your social credit score for volunteering to do this. Now, this comes to us via The Guardian. And apparently, China is planning to send millions of kids, volunteers, back to villages, raising fears of a return of the methods of Chairman Mao's brutal Cultural Revolution of about 50 years ago.
Well, hang on.
Yeah.
Okay. Why, when Israel sends their young people out to the kibbutzes,
Yeah.
not to mention the illegal settlements, this is a good thing.
Yeah.
When China's doing it, it's a brutal thing.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure what's going on. They may be trying to basically balance their population across China. They may simply say, we need more people in the villages because that's where a lot of the agriculture is taking place.
Yeah.
But the spin, the tone of
Yeah.
this article is clearly negative.
Oh, I agree.
And more China bashing.
Yeah, yeah. And what is that recipe that you and I have talked about? Demonize, go in regime change, which would be a big trick here, to get U.S.-centric companies in charge of the resources
Yes.
and having the resources only sold in U.S. dollars.
Well, that's basically what the U.S. has been doing,
Yeah.
you know, in all these countries.
Mhm.
Not always with a lot of success.
No.
And that's one reason to be concerned about this sudden rush for a new war in Venezuela.
Yeah.
Because this reassertion of
Mhm.
global dollar hegemony
Right.
has stumbled badly
Yeah.
in Syria.
Mhm.
It's stumbling in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Yep.
I think that the United States is starting to realize, or the U.S. government rather, is starting to realize if they don't make it happen now, it's
Yeah.
not going to happen at
Right.
all. Like I said, I think we're going to lose this one. And I just
yeah.
hope it doesn't go nuclear somewhere along the way.
I would like to hope that as well. I mean, Mike, what can they legitimately do? We know that there are both Russian and Chinese groups on the ground in Venezuela. And the U.S. is going to send in who or what to fight them?
Well, there's not that many Russians and Chinese. It's
know.
really a symbolic force,
Yes.
advisors.
Yeah.
But it's basically Russia and China sending a message saying, we are prepared to basically turn Venezuela into another war of attrition
Mhm.
and grind you down like happened in Vietnam, like just got done happening in Syria.
Mhm.
And that's why Pompeo's out there screaming, you know, it's a provocation. It's a
Mhm.
provocation
Yeah.
for the Russians to be there,
Yeah.
forgetting that it is the United States that provoked this whole crisis with
Yeah.
this Juan Guaido nonsense.
Yes. By the way, has anyone heard from Juan recently?
Not really.
Uh-huh.
I think he's sort of being pushed off to one side because he wasn't able to rally the support of the Venezuelan military or the civil population. In fact, the civil population tends to throw things at him when
Yes,
he drives
I've
by.
noticed. I've noticed.
But he's now officially banned from holding public office for 15 years.
Wow.
And apparently some kind of immunity that he had been pledged has now been revoked.
Whoa.
So he may actually be in hiding right now.
Or in a Venezuelan jail.
I'm certain that if that were the case, the United States government would be making a huge stink about it.
Okay. I have to wonder, though, if there was a covert action that the U.S., CIA, FBI, whoever they've got in there, was not able to find out. What do you think?
I'm pretty sure that, you know, with Venezuela having been in their sights for so long,
Yeah.
The government is pretty penetrated.
Okay.
I
All
would be
right.
very, very surprised.
Yeah.
So I think more than likely Guaido has gone into hiding
Mhm.
Until his next performance is called
Yeah.
for.
Yeah. And what is he calling these something actions that he wants to see done?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
forget the exact name for it,
Uh-huh.
but he was calling basically for the people of Venezuela to rise on up
Mhm.
and start smiting at the government. That did not happen.
No, no.
So Guaido has turned out to be less than a wonderful investment for the U.S. government.
Right, right, right. And the other thing I would like to wonder about is having missed the timing so badly, what exactly do you think the U.S. is going to be able to do?
You mean in terms
militarily? Yeah, Venezuela.
in Venezuela?
Yeah.
The options right now are full-on military invasion.
Okay.
Bad move.
Yep.
Another Vietnam.
Yeah.
The other one would be more attempts to assassinate Maduro,
Mhm.
possibly even a drone strike into Caracas.
Yeah.
And I imagine that Maduro is moving around a lot.
Yes.
And sleeping
Yeah.
in different places
Yeah.
every night.
Mhm. I just have to wonder how long the U.S. is going to let this play out without realizing that they've lost before they even started. What do you think?
They may be waiting for some kind of an event
Mhm.
where they could say, oh, look what that dastardly Maduro has done,
Mhm.
like they tried to do with Bashar al-Assad.
Mhm.
But yeah, basically with China and Russia on the ground there
Yeah.
with their arms crossed,
Mhm.
it's another stalemate.
Yeah.
And I think that's why Pompeo is so upset. He was looking forward to having another war. War is fun. We're
Yeah.
going to go and, you know, kill a lot of people and blow a lot of stuff up. And now those gosh darn Russians and Chinese won't let me do that.
Yeah, yeah. There is a lot of what Pompeo says internationally where I'm sort of feeling a very, how can I say this gently, a very Christian evangelist kind of mentality. It's us against them, particularly in the Middle East with Israel.
Yes,
Do you
very much
notice
so.
those notes coming up?
It
from
is
this week?
amazing how many
Yeah.
of these people who are out there calling for all this blood,
Yeah.
are purport to be
Yeah.
religious people. Pat Robertson, good
Oh,
example.
yeah.
Calling for a drone strike on
Yeah.
Maduro.
Hello.
Whatever happened to "Thou shalt not murder"?
Yeah, I hear you. And, I'm a Christian, I'm a Methodist. I'm very grateful to be part of a church that's a big tent.
Yes.
And I'll have to tell you, fundamentalists of any stripe kind of set my hair on edge.
Death to the fanatics.
Right.
Okay.
And but you find this in fanatic belief in almost every major religion, except for the most part, Buddhism.
Yes.
And the Buddhists, to me, have always been very cool, except for the government of formerly
Myanmar.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been some real bloodshed with the Buddhists. I was
yeah.
very surprised
Yeah.
to see Buddhists out there hacking each other to bits.
I have never in my life thought that I was going to use the phrase, "Watch out, here come the Buddhists and they're armed."
Yes.
It just didn't seem to me like that was a really good thing to do. But on the other side of it, I think sometimes I don't call myself religious. I strive to be spiritual, and I fall down a lot, okay? I strive. I don't always make it, but to me, that's kind of a beauty of the way Methodists understand God, because it gives you a chance, and it gives you a sense of grace and something to hold on to, and a lot of good projects in which to participate,
Yes.
which I love as well,
Well, as I've said many times before, good people will do good things and
Mhm.
bad people will do bad things,
Yep.
and very often religion becomes their banner.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you on that.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, a banner, Betsy DeVos did something that I thought was more than a little bit, I can't quite use the word on the air, but not quite kosher. I think I'll define it that way.
Okay.
And apparently Betsy DeVos has quietly made it easier for dying for-profit schools to rip off a few more students on the way out. And apparently her department has quietly dropped requirements for risky for-profit colleges to set aside funds in case the schools go, yes.
They go out of business.
Yeah.
As many of them have now.
Yeah, And two of the for-profit networks subsequently shut down without owing the Department of Education Department any money. And in one case, the department actually gave $10 million back for a for-profit on the brink of bankruptcy. Mike,
Yep.
this is just stupid. It's ill. It's illogical. And what concerns me deeply is how deeply this administration is owned by the very industries that the DOE is supposed to supervise.
That's exactly right.
heck is
And
going
again,
on?
it
Yeah.
illustrates that college education
Yeah.
in the United States is no longer about education.
Yeah.
It's about, first and foremost, indoctrination.
Yeah.
And second of all, it's just another financial scam.
Yeah.
College tuitions have been increasing way out of line
Yeah.
with the rate of inflation, with the idea of getting these students to take out these usurious student loans.
Oh, yeah.
With this promise that, hey, when you graduate with this degree in Sanskrit, there's going to be a high-paying job out there
Right.
where you'll pay off the student loan here in just about 6 months.
Or interpretive women's stance.
Or
That's
interpretive
yeah.
women's
yeah.
stance
Hello.
for men.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
And-
get the trans in there.
Yeah, and it's so frustrating to me because the future of any society depends on a lot of factors. But what I'd call my four-legged stool is love, structure, and education that's going to mean that that kid may have a shot
Yep.
of reaching their dreams.
Yep.
And not being marginalized because this is something they want to do.
Yep.
But being encouraged
Yep.
to do what they want to do. And I have family back in the Midwest right now. And I have a wonderful sister-in-law and a great brother. And when the girls were coming up, Mom, who at that time was an RN, would stop out a little when the kids were babies. But as they got older and went going to school, she started going back to school. And so
Yes.
the result of all that was you had my sister-in-law and the two girls all studying together because the sister-in-law was studying for a nurse practitioner license.
Yep.
And the girls were finishing their junior high and high school education. And I kept remembering what wonderful memories this is going to make for these kids whose mom showed them by demonstration that education, you can want it, you can deal with it, and you can succeed.
And it's a good. It's led to a great family structure.
Yeah.
You look at them and you say, this is what a perfect American family would be like.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a lot of good input, and the two daughters have grown up to be wonderful professionals and also wonderful moms, because they had a great mom thing going with their mom.
Yep.
Yeah. I wish every kid in this country and in every country had something like that, and they don't. They don't.
Well, again, a big part of the problem is that parents have been taken out of most of families.
Yeah.
And in the case of our family, it was actually one working parent.
Yes.
And the other parent stayed home.
Yeah.
And that really did make all the difference in the world.
Oh, yeah.
But you have kids whose parents are working very long hours in multiple jobs. They're never present, latchkey kids, if you will.
Yeah.
And they're learning their social skills from TV.
Yeah. Or streaming video.
Or streaming, or on the computer.
Yeah.
Or even worse, from kids at school who are already embarked on a life of crime.
Oh yeah, yeah. And the thing that bothers me is, Mike, we have got to find a way to spin the cycle around so that kids who are at risk, because mom and dad are working full time, that there may be a place for them to go that is structured, and maybe one parent can work a little bit less and spend more time home with the kids.
Well, that would be really good. Yeah. And I know that there are these youth centers that are set up.
Yeah.
We actually had one where I lived with my parents when I was going to high school. Unfortunately, it was not a very positive experience.
Why not?
Well, because the adults who were supervising it basically just sat in the office.
Okay.
And the kids were out just doing what kids were going to do. And they didn't get any reinforcement for good social behavior.
Yeah. I have heard that in some schools, if they have some really excellent students, they're getting beat on by other students who are not doing as well.
Oh, yeah, that happens all the time.
Holy crud.
That happens all the time.
Yeah.
Heck, that happened to me in high school.
Can you share that story?
Yeah, I got beat up.
Yeah. How? What happened?
Well, I was the kid in high school. I had a slide rule on my belt, and if you're too young to know what a slide rule is, look it up online here.
Yes.
And I was doing very well in certain select classes, especially in science and math. Anyway, that's basically it. We got to take a break for commercials. Back with the last segment of our program after these few words.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield Tactical Bipods. Airoutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more. Plus magful clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to Airoutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AROutfitting.com.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something by and by, the rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, I mean the panic is on. Can't get no way, can't draw no pay.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. Last segment of our program on this Pauha on a Friday, and a couple of interesting stories to share with you. Apparently, the ACLU has gotten involved in an incident that took place last year. In fact, it was last March, where these two students who were seniors, and they've since graduated, were at a shooting range, and they took some pictures and they shared them on Snapchat. And apparently some people got very upset with these teenagers at a legal shooting range with legally owned firearms. They contacted the school to report the students, and the school officials suspended the teens from the school. And it's not like they had the guns on the school grounds or that they had issued any threats. They were just out there shooting at a gun range and taking pictures and sharing them on social media. And the school said, "You're out of here." So now the ACLU is suing, and I hope they win. And I hope they clean out that entire school's administration.
Yeah, I agree.
Because we have something in this country called the Second Amendment.
Yep.
And these kids were doing it right. They were at a gun range learning to shoot safely, learning to handle the weapons correctly. Why would a school want to discourage that kind of behavior? Well, we know it gets back to that indoctrination, that liberal thing. Guns are bad. Guns are bad. You can't have guns. Guns are bad. So, yesterday we were talking about how Firefox had blacklisted the Dissenter free speech browser extension. This is an extension that allowed people to set up their own comment system on web pages whose comment sections had been closed. And Firefox said, nope, no. If we say no comments, no comments. You just become a passive receiver of the revealed wisdom from the government and the corporate media. You don't talk about it with each other. You don't talk back. Well, apparently today, Google has also, along with Mozilla, blacklisted the Dissenter free speech browser extension. We're not going to have free speech anymore in this country because there's a war out there. It's a war. Okay, if you are a user of the very popular free VSDC multimedia editing system and you downloaded it between February and March, you probably got your computer infected. The official website of the VSDC software was hacked, unfortunately, and malware-infected versions of the apps were installed in there. So it really is out of control with the cybercrime. It really is out of control.
And Mike, where is the Department of Homeland Security when all of this stuff hits, costing small businesses a fortune?
Or the NSA.
Yeah,
You
hello.
know, well, I think for all we know, the cyber criminals are the NSA, and it's just another way of pillaging wealth from the American people to pay
Right.
for the war. We've got to pay for more bombs.
Oh, right, absolutely.
Okay, I'll leave this next story until Monday. There's the music. Time for us to get on out of here. Please stay tuned for John Stadmiller. I'm sure he's got lots of wonderful things to share with you on this Friday evening. And please have a really wonderful weekend. Donate to Republic Broadcasting. They need it. Donate to whatreallyhappened.com. We need it. We just had a small donation come in, so thank you very much. I'm
Bless
not going to
you,
name
yeah.
names over the air.
Okay.
And again, have a great weekend. Aloha, America.